It was a cold Saturday morning in the heart of New York City when my life unraveled with the force of an unexpected avalanche. My phone buzzed incessantly on my bedside table, each vibration a harbinger of the storm I was about to face. "Jenna, have you seen this?" read the first message. Then another and another, like a never-ending deluge. Curiosity piqued, I reached for my phone, and what I saw made my evidence run cold. My world became a series of blurred lines and broken trust, all at the hands of someone I once called a friend. It all began a few years ago when I met Claire at a local art exhibit. She was everything you could hope for in a friend, charismatic, supportive, and always ready with a word of encouragement. As a writer navigating the unpredictable tides of inspiration, I found her not only a companion but a muse. We spent countless nights pouring our hearts out over cups of steaming coffee, sharing stories from our past and dreams for the future. To me, Claire became more than a friend, she was like a sister I never had. It was during one of those cozy nights in my apartment that I first noticed something off. Claire had become increasingly fixated on her phone, her attention drifting away from our conversation. I chalked it up to her growing social media presence. Claire had recently started a personal blog where she shared lighthearted anecdotes and life insights. It seemed harmless at the time, after all, wasn't everyone looking to carve out their niche online these days? Little did I know, these small diversions were the first signs of cracks in our friendship. When I would share a particularly personal story, she would offer her sympathy, but a sly smile would sometimes play on her lips. I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was just reacting to my quirky way of telling stories. However, a gnawing feeling started to nestle in the back of my mind, an unease that I couldn't quite shake. The devastating moment of truth arrived one evening as I mindlessly scrolled through my Instagram feed. A familiar-looking post caught my eye. It was Claire's latest blog entry, and as I began to read, my heart sank. There, laid out for all to see, was a detailed account of a story I had shared with her in confidence, painted as her own experience. The story wasn't simply similar, it was mine, down to the very details of an embarrassing childhood incident that I had narrated to her in tears. I felt a jolt of shock and betrayal that left me breathless. The intimacy of the story, something I had thought was shared within the safe confines of our friendship, was now fodder for her online audience. The comments below were filled with admiration and laughter, congratulating her on her bravery and humor. My humiliation and anger boiled over, and yet somehow, I felt powerless to confront her. But that was only the tip of the iceberg. As I delved deeper into her blog, I realized it wasn't an isolated incident. Entry after entry, I found snippets of my life, my experiences, repackaged and repurposed. It was as if my life had become her unwitting content bank. From stories about my first love to the struggles of my writing career, Claire had cherry-picked the most poignant moments of my life, presenting them as her own authentic stories. My trust and my soul were auctioned off for likes and shares. The weight of her betrayal was suffocating. Sleepless nights became my new normal, my mind a relentless storm of emotions. I felt exposed, like a character ripped from my own narrative and left to flounder in a story I no longer controlled. My writing suffered, the words that once flowed freely now seemed stilted and forced. It was as if Claire had not only stolen my stories but my very voice. Was I nothing more than a ghostwriter for her digital persona? The pain of being exploited by someone I held dear was a wound that refused to heal. Yet, in the depths of my despair, a flicker of resolve began to grow. I realized that wallowing in self-pity and anger would achieve nothing. Claire had underestimated me, and it was time to reclaim my narrative. The decision to fight back wasn't immediate, but each restless night and each pang of betrayal fueled my determination. I needed to show her, and the world, who these stories truly belonged to. I began to formulate a plan, one that was as intricate and methodical as it needed to be to unmask Claire's deceit. First, I gathered every piece of evidence I could, screenshots of her blog posts, messages, and dates that corroborated my original stories. I wanted to ensure that when the truth came out, there would be no room for doubt. I reached out to mutual friends, subtly laying the groundwork for the storm to come, without revealing my full hand just yet. My next step was to revitalize my own neglected blog. It had been languishing under the weight of my emotions, but now I poured all my energy into it. I wrote with a fervor I hadn't felt in months, sharing not just the stories Claire had stolen, but new reflections, transforming my pain into something empowering. I wasn't just retelling stories, I was reclaiming them as mine, with a voice stronger and clearer than before. The final stage of my plan was to confront Claire, but not privately. I needed the world to see the truth. I timed my posts to coincide with a major event she was hosting, a live Q&A session for her followers. As she smiled and welcomed her audience, I published my revitalized blog entries and sent a carefully crafted message to her followers, those I had interacted with, those I knew would see the truth for what it was. The message was simple, a direct link to my blog and a statement that invited readers to discover the real author behind the stories they had come to love. The execution was flawless. As Claire began her session, messages started pouring in, questioning the authenticity of her stories. The chat became a whirlwind of confusion and scrutiny. I watched from my screen, breath held, as the tide began to turn. Claire's confident demeanor faltered, her attempts to deflect and dismiss only fueling the fire of curiosity and doubt. It was a public unraveling, the facade she had crafted crumbling under the weight of her own deception. The aftermath of the revelation was swift and unrelenting. Claire's credibility online was shattered, followers who had once idolized her turned away, disappointed in the person they thought they knew. Her sponsorships and collaborations dissolved overnight, leaving her social media presence a shadow of what it once was. In her desperation, she reached out to me, offering apologies and explanations, but they fell on deaf ears. The trust she had broken was beyond repair. As for me, the exposure did more than just clear my name. It reinvigorated my writing career in ways I hadn't imagined. The authenticity and passion in my stories resonated with readers, drawing them to my blog not out of scandal, but out of genuine interest. Offers for collaborations and writing gigs poured in, and for the first time in a long time, I felt the freedom to create without fear. Looking back on those events, I realized that Claire's betrayal, though painful, sparked a transformation within me. I emerged stronger, wiser, and more attuned to the value of my own voice. Today, my life is a testament to resilience and the power of reclaiming one's own narrative. I have found new friends who respect my boundaries and a community that values authenticity over facade. I never looked back.